Hi friends, I guess I'm not going to be able to film this video without my cats being actively involved in in the screen play here. I wanted to hop on today to share with you how I am documenting my inks, and I have an ink journal as well as a traveler's notebook where I have several inserts to test inks and use them. And I wanted to show them to you just in case that would be something that you were wanting to do. And then I found some things on Amazon that I really like, and I wanted to show you these two as well, because I'm going to use those during December for documenting inkvent. I have purchased the Diamine ink advent calendar. They call it inkvent, and I'm super excited to open an ink bottle every day and test it out. So yeah, that is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to start by showing you this traveler's notebook. This is a personal sized traveler's notebook. I made this myself from a handbag that I bought myself as a teenager, but never really put to use. Now I am using this as a traveler's notebook, and I'm so happy I actually took the plunge and cut it so that I'm still getting something out of this leather. This traveler's notebook has several inserts. Some of them are make-do inserts, and some of them are exactly how I want them to be. I am having 1, 2-ish, 3, 4, 5 notebooks in here. And I'm just gonna go through them one by one. This one is a scrapbooking paper that I used. This is a traveler's notebook insert from Paper Penguin Co. And I purchased this on the Buy Sell Trade group on Facebook. And it has many pages. So I just took it apart and divided it into 2 and put scrapbooking paper around the one that this is the cover that it came with, and then this is the cover that I made. I just simply, let me just take it off the string so I can show you. I have a We Are Memory Keepers punch where you can punch here. It's a bookbinding tool with all the equipment that you need. And so I just hole punched it here and stitch bound it, and then made a second 2 notebooks out of 1. Wow, I'm destroying the paper right here. So in this one, I am just, every time I re-ink my fountain pens and I am cleaning them, and I'm changing out the ink colors in the fountain pens that I have inked, I am making a list of the fountain pens and the currently inked pages, and that is what is in here. I took it out of another one. I took things apart and separated them because I think I will like it better. So this is glued in from a Taroko notebook that I cut apart, and so these 2 were in here. Then there's one from July 18th, August 31st, September 3rd, and October 6th. I haven't made a new one yet because I'm actually still, this is pretty current, and I'm waiting for the inkvent to start, or I will, right before the inkvent, I will probably do a currently inked, because I'm thinking of switching out some of the pens with inks that I really like from the advent calendar. I don't know, but that is basically a documentation of which ink is in which fountain pen currently. And then I have the same thing here. And I'm waiting for Paper Penguin Co. to end their Black Friday sale, which I hope they will have. She offers Cosmo Air Light paper as a personal size insert. And this is just 3 papers that I cut, or 4 papers that I cut down to personal size, just to see how it feels writing on it, and how the inks look when with this paper. And there is definitely a difference in the colors and how thick the line variation of the fountain pen nibs is visible. And that's what makes it so interesting for me. And that's why I have another one right here. This is a B6 Slim MD notebook. So this is the MD paper, and the pens look different in this one as well. From using this and making this for several months now, I can clearly say or tell that I purchased the nib width for my fountain pens, and my fountain pen collections is customized for Tomoe River paper. So I am actually very hopeful that they will find a way to produce it with the new owners, and there will be a paper that is very, very, very similar to this, because the thickness of the nibs works best for my taste with Tomoe River paper. In here, I feel like the nibs are scratchy. I'm more comfortable with the M nibs. The F nibs are very, very borderline. EF doesn't even work here. It feels very, very scratchy when I write on this paper. So it probably wouldn't go as fine as here. But yeah, luckily most of the Fs that I own are in cheaper fountain pens, or for instance, especially with the Safaris, I could easily purchase separate nib units. It's just a teeny tiny nib that you remove, and then put them to use on different paper. It's a bit different with TWSBIs. You can't really buy a nib unit as cheaply and as easily as for the Lamy Safaris. So yeah, that's what these 3 notebooks basically are. Just regular, currently inked on different paper. And I'm such a nerd that I really, really enjoy doing that. I love having these lists on the different papers. This is not something that you have to have because you have fountain pens. It's something that I enjoy, and I do because I like it. I can't speak for what you should do and how you should document fountain pens, because this is just what I have decided to do and what works for me. There's not a specific or special rule on this planet that says you have to have a currently inked list. If that's not something that you're into, then you wouldn't bother with it, I'm sure. This is the Taroko shop insert. It's also Tomoe River paper, and yes, it is upside down, because up until I started using this notebook and this notebook, all of these things were in this one single notebook combined. And I started it from the front and putting in all the different the currently inked list, the ink swatches that you can see right here. They were in the front, and in the back I used it for testing different nibs, my dip pen with inks, making pens write smoothly, and comparing different nib sizes and such. And I realized that I actually could use a full notebook, just getting used to writing with a pen, seeing what it looks like, how this was testing a shimmering ink and how it actually making it right. And so I decided I want a notebook specifically dedicated for that. And since I had started in the back, I turned it around. And when I started using it this way, I just wrote this way. So there's some pages that are upside down, and then we'll start seeing it correctly. So here, I'm just writing samples basically. If I want to show on video how a pen writes, this is where I can do it. This is the scrappy notebook. And then this is just the other papers, the Cosmo Air Light papers that I have in here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages left, and then I don't have any more of that paper. I would definitely not use that paper for a journal. I don't like it like that, but I do like seeing the vibrance of the inks on the paper. And then I just alluded to it earlier. This is where I just do an ink swatch and just write down what inks these are, what they look like. I had these big plans on separating it by color and all that, but I decided not to go for it, and I really like seeing these together in a list like that, so I can go through and maybe even say, oh, I like this, how does this compare to this ink, and just flip through and see what I have used so far, what I tested so far, and maybe if I want to use it again. I do not own many ink bottles. These are mostly samples that I either purchased or received from friends. I was into really black inks in the beginning of my fountain pen journey, so I wanted to find the perfect gray and the perfect black. But currently I'm more into the colors, and this color palette is definitely one of my favorite ones. This one didn't work for me a lot when I used it. I tried this as a winter palette, but there's still some of the inks. I'm still using this one, and this actually, now that I'm using it again, looks really nice. Some of the samples I don't even own anymore. I should probably document whether this is a sample or if I still have it in my collection or not. That would be probably pretty helpful. Yeah, and then here is the currently inked in here. I decided not to use the pages for these kinds of things. This scrubbly stuff will all be in this notebook here. So this can be reserved for currently inked lists, and I'm pretty sure by the amount of pages that I will have room for several years of currently inked lists. That's what I do to document inks. And then I do have this, which is a more in-depth look at the inks that I'm using. I just used a older, here is this 2021, the spring 2021. I created a QR code here with instructions for the ink chromatography strips on how to use them. And then on the monthly pages, I have, I just write what ink is sampled on these pages. And so I have sampled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 inks so far. And then I am allotting 4 pages per ink. I'm making this ink splotch right here. I like this one is quite flat, to be honest, but I really like how it looks when I'm writing with it. I use a affirmation deck and write with these two tools right here. And if you know where I can get a high quality dip nib with a very fine tip, please let me know. This one is not working really too well. It is super fine. I know that I could dip some of an uninked fountain pen to do this, but most of the time all of my fountain pens are inked, and so I'd rather use a nib. Maybe I can put that on my wish list for Christmas from Germany, because I know that in Germany they have much better access to these kinds of things in regular stationery stores than here. And then I have this glass dip pen. I purchased this one from Amazon, and I have to say that I am pretty impressed by the quality of the nib. It's probably, I assume that the quality of other makers that you purchase at stationery stores is much higher, but it is not scratchy. It glides over the page, and that is all I wanted to do. And it's not stopping after the second word. So I can actually write this whole thing that is written on here. I can write with one dip into my ink, and then this is what comes off onto the page. So I'm pretty impressed. I heard several horror stories from other people telling me that their dip pens, glass dip pens, were absolutely horrible quality. I cannot attest to that. I'm pretty happy with what I got. Then I am layering the ink in 3 layers. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm using this. This I started doing and didn't even know what it actually was good for. I really like how, so you splatter ink on there, and then you can see how much of this is actually permanent, if it is permanent at all. There seem to be some permanent elements in this ink, but not a lot. And then this is the, what is this called? Again, I had it earlier. I said it earlier, but I don't remember it anymore. I'm very sorry about that. Chromatography. There we are. Where you dip where you draw a line across the paper, and then you dip it into water for 30 seconds, a minute, and then you let it travel. The ink and the water, because of the water, the ink will travel up the paper and separate into the different components, which is really amazing. On the back side, I just write where I got a sample, if I had a sample, when I got it, and if I actually purchased the ink as a bottle, and when I did that, and then when I ink different pens throughout that's why I allotted 1 full page to this. I will put a writing sample right here so I can see what it looks, how different they look in different pens, because that's one thing that you will notice when you have different kinds of pens, that different kinds of pens work and write differently with different inks. So even this ink will not perform the same in 2 different pens. That's what it basically means. Let me just show you what else I have already recorded. This is Sailor Manu Akibi. I really love the green sheen on this ink. And then this is more of a disappointment. I haven't found a fountain pen that I really like this ink just yet. So here is that. And then Sailor Manyo Kikyu. It looks really nice on here. However, it's just a blue when you use it in a fountain pen. And so I'm not sure that I would purchase a bottle of this. And this one, however, this one is really nice. It's also quite flat. It has some grays in there and blue, different blues, just as this one too. Or, yeah, there's no green in this one either. But you can see the difference. This has more of a tealish hint. This is more of a dark, almost purple. And then this is Robert Oster Cherry Blossom. This is not in my possession anymore. Maybe I should actually then keep on documenting that I actually gave this away to someone. Then Diamond Meadow. This I am absolutely, and this also is when my nib, this one, the first one that I owned, broke. I accidentally dipped it too hard onto my the surface of my kitchen, which is marble, and so yeah, it broke. I don't know what happened here. This ink splatter does not look anything like the ink that is on the page, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I didn't clean my syringe perfectly before I did this. I'm absolutely at a loss because this really looks nice. This is not, looks kind of like a meadow, yeah. And so I used up this sample and I'm not going to purchase any of this. Then Robert Oster Torquay. I really like how this ink layers on top of each other. It is super interesting. Not very flat. It's very, speaks to me somehow. I don't know. You can see compared to the Diamine Ancient Copper, this is totally water soluble. There's no components in this ink that will stay on the page when water is added. Here's the chromatography. I have a sample that I purchased in November 2020, and then here's the test with this ink. And then Sailor Manyo Ume is one of my new favorite inks for sure. It's pretty similar to the Ancient Copper, yes, but this is more orange, or as it says in the title is copper. This is more red, plummy. I'm using both at the same time currently, and I can see a difference between both of them, and I love using both. This one is Diamine Eclipse. I used it up and decided not to do any more with it. I'm currently not purchasing inks or ink samples anyway, because I am waiting for December 1st. Really desperately, actually. And then Lennon Toolbar Oyster is my favorite gray dark ink. I am currently my Pilot Vanishing Point is inked up with this ink, and I feel like that it is going to be a staple. And then this is another ink that I currently have inked. It is Vinta Malayan Apple Makopa, and this is, wow, it is very, very beautiful. You can see the sheen or the color that changes. It changes to. I'm really impressed. My friend Amy gave me some samples of Vinta, and wow. Okay, I still need to document this here. And then I also, is the first shimmering ink that I have inked my fountain pens with is the Van Diemen's Underwater Parrotfish. It's teal basically, or turquoise, with a purple shimmer. And you can see how the shimmer stayed down here in this line, and then the color, the pigment moved up. There is no such thing as waterproof. It definitely is not. And then this is what it looks like when it's in a fountain pen, and I do really like it. I had a lot of trouble, as you saw here, after I first inked it up to actually get it to write. But now when I know that I want to use it, I just roll the fountain pen, and it's a clear pen, so you can actually see the particles in the ink. And I just roll it like this in my hand until I see that the particles have mingled with the rest of the ink, and then it does come, it flows really easily. And then this is the last ink that I have in here is Ferris Wheel Press Buttered Popcorn. I wasn't sure that I wanted to keep this ink. It's another one that my friend Amy destashed, and she gave the whole bottle to me. But I currently inked up a Lamy Safari with it, and it does look, I thought it was too faint for me, but this is what it looks like in the fountain pen, and I really like it. So this is what I'm using to document the inks. I do this just for fun, just for me, because I love it. And I'm just going to continue until this is full, and then I will probably just get another one. I have a little teeny tiny tip for you. Jet Pens discounted the current year in June, July-ish. And that's when I got this. So I probably am going to be on the lookout next early summer to see if they do the same thing with 2022, and then I'll just stock up on cheaper Tomoe River notebooks, because we never know how long Tomoe River paper in this way is going to stay. All right, so for the Diamine inkvent, I have planned, because I feel like different papers make ink look differently. So I purchased these. These are actually business card size. So if you were to get a business card holder, you could display these cards in them. And that's what I'm planning to do in the future. I started using these with these two inks. And I'm planning on using these for the inkvent, just to see how the ink looks on the different papers. And then I also got the coloring ink testing book from the well-appointed desk. And then I'm not so sure how exactly I would love to have some sort of like overview. I'm thinking of maybe using a week's, because the November and December usually overlap. I do have a set of December pages that I could use for displaying the inks and what it looks like. So I'm thinking of this, or maybe I could technically put the whole, no, I could not, because there's no December, but I could I? Is this to June? I probably could just use this July thing for the overview of the inks in the inkvent, because this only goes to the end of June, and then this book is full. So even if I use all the monthly pages as an index on where to find what ink, this is a spare monthly overview. So that's something that I could do too. I don't know if you are participating, or if you are doing the inkvent, are you documenting each ink somehow? How are you going to do this? Let me know in the comments below. And I'm almost done. Just wanted to show you this last find. When I went to get more of these vials on Amazon, I was looking for one where I would get a holder as well as these sample vials, so that I could put them somewhere and even put this on my table and then just have it there without having the fear that it will fall over. So that's, I just scrolled through, and I will link the items that I purchased on Amazon in the description box below so that you can find it. But I'm impressed. By the looks of it, I will need another one pretty soon. It comes filled with sample vials, so this is also cool. If you have some at home already, then you could remove the empty ones, use them to share inks with friends, and then put the ones that you have already filled in there. What I really like, I mean, it's not 100% ideal, it's not as high, but it will also fit these little glass bottles, sample bottles that you get from Yoseka when you purchase samples from them. So I'm like, yeah, I'm in love. This is super cool. Alrighty, this is all I have to share about the inks. I hope this is, I think I'm gonna link this, the well-appointed desk, as well as this ink collection card. I purchased that one from Yoseka Stationery and that one from the well-appointed desk. Also in the description box, just so that you can find it more easily. And yeah, if you are documenting your inks, if you have an ink journal, if you have a traveler's notebook that is dedicated to fountain pens, or a notebook in general that is dedicated to your inks, please leave a comment down below and let me know how you do this. Because I'm just curious. If you made a video about it, link it in the comments below. I'd love to watch it. I'm super geeking out about all things inked, all things inks, if you haven't noticed already. And so I'm really into all of this. I'd love to see how other people enjoy their fountain pen inks. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait for December 1st for my first inkvent. I hope they do this every year, unless I'm super disappointed, but I don't care. It's just the fun of opening this up and swatching the ink will be amazing. I will see you soon. Until then, bye.